This is Adam Lippe talking to you from the future, here to let you know that you can find Wait, Wait, Don't Kill Me available now. Check waitwaitdon'tkillme.com for more details.
This is
Eric and Gord. What if we're right?
Live right now.
Are you ready?
Find and like us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram.
Gord, you can hear me.
Oh, yeah, we can hear you fine.
Okay. Sorry, I just sore throat a little bit because I just had an hour and a half meeting earlier, so on the phone. So
really?
Cough drop, yeah.
Good times. All right, give me 2 seconds here, and I'm ready to go. Gord, introduce yourself.
Hey, how you doing, Adam?
Okay.
Excellent. Right on. Yeah, I'm taking full responsibility for the late list of this one today. I totally had everything planned out and then just stopped watching the clock. So yeah, I'm a dick.
Is it up to me to disagree? I don't know you at all.
No, you can just call me a dick. That's fine. Oh, wow. So whereabouts are you?
I'm in Phoenixville, which is about 35 miles outside of Philadelphia.
Philadelphia, nice. I've been down to Philadelphia only once in my life, and it was for all but a brief moment. But I got yelled at 3 times while I was there, so it's a good place.
I mean, that's a pretty accurate assessment about what it's like.
I also got nailed for a wicked speeding ticket when I was going over through Buffalo to make my run down there. So, yeah, that was a fun time.
Yesterday.
What's that?
I'm not someone who's driven very long. I didn't get a license until I was 40. I'm 42.
Oh, wow.
And yesterday was the first time I'd ever driven to New York. I drove back there and back in one day. It's about 2.5 hours each way.
Yep.
And I when you're on the turnpike, you forget how fast you're going. And I looked up and I was doing 96, and I've never even become close to that. I kind of drive like an old person most of the time. So I was a bit startled.
I turned 40.
What's
Sorry,
that?
I turned 40. I turned 42 in June, and I've never officially had my license.
Yeah. Well, you guys live in cities? I mean, that's why I lived in a city my whole life. I grew up in New York and then moved to Columbus, Ohio. I lived in Boston and lived in Philadelphia, and until I moved out here, and my girlfriend's insistence that she's like, okay, you need to be able to drive in case I ever need to be taken to a hospital. I said, "Is that?"
Yeah, my ex-wife did the same thing. I live in a fairly big city. Gord's just outside of Toronto.
Okay.
And I'm in Vancouver. It's 2.5 million people, roughly.
Well, I make no promises about not referencing Kids in the Hall.
Oh, absolutely. I would expect
that
less.
sketch was more influential on me than almost anything else.
They were the first, Lauren Michaels picked them up. And ended up producing them. I think they were probably more popular in the States than they were here, to be honest.
That makes sense. I actually worked at Broadway Video when I was a teenager as an intern.
No. Did you really?
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
When they pitched Brain Candy, the treatment was going around the office, and we all read it, and we were like, this seems terrible. And it was okay, I guess.
I wasn't a fan. I think I just didn't get it.
Well, it doesn't.
I was
really
a fan
work.
of the show.
Yeah, it doesn't work because it's sketch movies rarely do when they try to make a plot out of it. So little bits are funny here and there, but they don't get to show off what they can do. And then the stuff that anybody remembers is the stuff in really horrible taste, like Cancer Boy. So
yeah, of course.
Which
they did a skit that never made it to air that I've always wanted to see, and it was a Dave Foley thing. They did a skit about Jesus and how he was actually a really bad carpenter, and that's why he got into.
I wrote a story based on that sketch in high school.
Really?
Yeah, I never
got to see it.
It's a great sketch. Yeah, about how he had no choice but to become the Messiah because he was a lousy carpenter. Because they show all carpenter work. It's a fantastic sketch. I wrote
a great concept.
Short story in high school based on that sketch, in which I literalized it, and it was about all of Jesus's terrible carpentry, and it being found many years later, and the analysis of it.
That's so good.
I have been.
My class were like, "Where did that come from?" I'm like, "I just thought this sketch was really funny, and I thought, what if you just elaborated it?"
Yeah. Let's just take it to that next step that nobody thought would happen. Yeah. That's great.
When I was in high school drama class, every Monday we had to have like an original little short play, right? And mine was always just whatever Chris Farley had done the previous Saturday.
Okay, so you fell.
I just directly stole them. I was a huge Farley fan.
Did you fall in a lot of breakaway tables? Is that what you just did with your time?
I did that a lot. Yeah, I was almost his size in high school, so it worked well for me. Did you like
to adjust your pants while you were, weaving in and out like that?
I used to split the backs of my jackets on purpose, just to be like him.
Just so
I was coat. Yeah, fat man in a little coat. I love that the last thing David Spade ever said to him was, Chris Farley said, "Does this jacket make me look fat?" And he said, "No, your face does." Last words.
What a great last line.
So, how does this start, or did we already start?
You know what? I say let's just go with it. Why not? I usually do a little intro, but I really have nothing planned, and it's not that important. So how about we start with you introducing yourself? Because I'm sure my listeners, other than the very little I've told them, they're not too sure who you are.
Okay. My name is Adam Lippe. I'm a filmmaker who lives about 35 miles outside of Philadelphia. I made a horror comedy called Wait, Wait, Don't Kill Me about a viral pandemic horror comedy in inner city Philadelphia, where on the hottest day of the year, basically what happens is that the virus gets loose in the inner city Philadelphia. It takes place in Nicetown, which is a real place inside Philadelphia.
That's awesome.
It's a real place. It's the worst place to live in Philadelphia. It's unfortunately named. Oh. And the virus gets loose. It causes massive dehydration, but because it's the hottest day of the year, people can't tell the difference between someone who's infected and someone who's just sweating because it's hot out. So it causes dehydration. People start attacking each other because people are mostly water. One of the attacks is caught on a YouTube-like video, and the military comes in. The video goes viral. Military comes in to try to stop it. They realize they can't do it quickly enough, so they fence off the inner city to let everybody die. And it's about the people who are left there to die. And I know that sounds very grim, but it's actually a comedy.
I love it. It sounds fantastic. Now, is this just awesomely serendipitous timing, or was it?
I wrote it a long time ago. And
I imagine so.
I wrote it back in 2013, and it took a long time to put together, and it was finished in the middle of late March of this year. And
and has the current scamdemic helped it or hurt it?
It's helped in terms of the offers, but distribution offers for independent films are always terrible. So it's just a matter of what is the least bad option. It's really just a series of terrible no options, because I don't know how much your audience wants to know about this, but so if you have an independent film that has no famous people in it, it means you are not getting any offers, no money up front, zero, ever.
Right.
And
does that also mean no festivals?
You can go to festivals, but they're generally a waste of time and money. They're there for the connections. The same reason you go to film school now. I went to film school. I wouldn't do it over, but basically you go to film school to meet people and network. Because there's nothing you can't learn by actually making a movie. The money you spend on film school would be much better off screwing up making your 3 shorts or 5 shorts or however many shorts, and 2 features or whatever. So
that's the same with comedy, to be honest. Just for laughs, things like that.
It's a lot to fail at comedy.
Yeah. So this was just that's really funny. I've been meaning to ask because I haven't had anyone to ask. Are things like Netflix helping or hurting the independent film?
Well, so Netflix and Hulu and Amazon, they don't really pick up independent projects anymore. They make all their stuff in-house. So
right.
It doesn't really help. It's actually very exclusionary. And there's a lot of predatory places, things called aggregators. Now, what an aggregator does, and again, I might get too technical, and you might go, just move on. Really, nobody cares.
No, I love learning.
Okay. Well, I am a fountain of knowledge, even if it's mostly useless. So what an aggregator does is you pay an aggregator to get on a particular platform. It used to be you had to pay to get on Netflix and Hulu, but now they're not doing that anymore. But they'll charge you something like $1,500 to get on a platform, iTunes, whatever.
So is this like an influencer?
No, you actually pay to get on there. And then whatever revenue you get from those platforms, which is not very much, goes through that aggregator. So they don't pick and choose movies. You're paying them. You're paying for the service. You're paying them to create closed captions, or you create them on your own. And then you have to market. You have to do all of it. Now, no matter what contract you sign, even if you have somebody picking you up, you're going to have to market it anyway. So
I have a similar distribution deal with my band. It must be the same thing.
Yeah, I'm sure. That they're similarly designed. It's just basically to make sure that you don't ever see a cent.
Yeah, I think so.
And to dissuade you from doing it independently ever again. There are limits to how much money you can make. That's why I think all these bands make money on tours, right? Because you can't make money from the actual record.
No, that's all your money's in merchandise now.
So,
or YouTube. I don't know how they do that.
Oh, the YouTube payouts are terrible. Just like Spotify payouts.
Are they? Oh, jeez.
Hundredths of a penny.
Yeah, I have had an album. I deal with a company out of Toronto called Indie Pool. They distribute my music and they take 10%. I think I've made $6 since 2017.
Oh, so like CD Baby, they do. I think they do that in the U.S.
Yeah, similar thing. Yeah.
Except for with Canadian distribution, it sucks.
Yeah.
Well, you have the advantage that in Canada you guys support the arts. So I know lots of Canadian filmmakers who didn't have to put their own money into their projects.
That's true. We do
a
lot of grant money here.
Yeah.
And you don't have that in the States? There's not like a ASCAP grant or something?
They have fiscal sponsorships, but one of them that I applied to, they told me my idea was too marketable. And in other words, we only know how to do things that lose money. But
that's my skill.
I said, so have you? I don't understand this idea of this rejection because my idea is too marketable. Because clearly it isn't if I'm coming to you. But and they basically explained that they'd never. I said, well, what do you do? One of my questions kind of revealed all, which was, what do you do if the money that comes in, turns a profit? Like if it turns a profit, how do you split it? And they told me that had never happened. So they don't know. And this was a major state. I'm not going to say which state.
Fair enough.
But a very large one, and not Pennsylvania.
Well, I think if it's anything like here, where your next year's budget is based on how much you blow the year before,
right.
So you don't want to turn a profit because then you actually get less in your next budget.
Well, the way that the fiscal sponsorships work is they're basically cover. So what they do is they say, okay, it's like any money you raise can go through our 501c3, and a 501c3 is basically like not a charity, but a nonprofit.
Right.
So you're raising money with that sort of as the centerpiece, that company or that foundation or whatever it is. And so the foundation allows you to raise money, and that money can be deducted off the person who get into their taxes. So they want to seem artistically relevant. They want it to seem like it's good for the community. So something that is theoretically disreputable or marketable, like my film, is a discredit in a way, if that makes sense.
Wow,
it does make sense. So let's get off the technical for a second. You're the same age as I am, and we're all in the same ballpark, right? Early 40s.
Yep.
What got you into film? What was your big? Like, I assume the 90s were monumentally changing for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so I was a film critic in high school. I initially wrote for myself. The school paper had some reviews written by a teacher, and the first movie review I read in there, I didn't understand it. It was written by one of the history teachers, but it was also for a movie called Shortcuts, which is a Robert Altman movie. Very depressing. But you know what high school kids